Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about embracing simple living for less stress and anxiety. Now, simplicity can be a lifeline in today's fast-paced, noisy, material-driven world. It provides an antidote, if you will, to the chaos of our modern lives, helping us to focus on what truly matters. When we strip away the non-essential, we can free ourselves from distractions. We can reduce stress and open up space for joy, for connection, and personal growth. Simple living isn't about deprivation. It's about our intention, choosing a life aligned with our values and creating meaningful experiences. So this is going to look very different for many people. We are not all living the same type of life, and our values all vary, and we are going to be creating many different kinds of meaningful experiences. So this isn't about a cookie cutter idea. This is about clarity, because clarity not only calms the mind, but also empowers you to live your authentic life, free from the pressures of societal expectations, whatever that may be in your life. Sometimes it's wise to understand how we got to this difficult place. So how or why might we have fallen into the trap of accumulation, of having too much, whether it be people, places, things, noise from the outside? People often get bogged down in accumulating for several different intertwined reasons. Many of these which are influenced by social norms, by psychological needs, and cultural conditioning. So you can see how we got to being overloaded or too busy or over accumulating in our lives is going to be different for all of us, because we all have different psychological needs. We all have different cultural conditionings. So let's look at some of the key factors that might play a part here. One of them might be, in our culture, consumerism. Modern economies thrive on consumption, and we hear a lot of noise around us about promoting the idea of owning more and how that will bring us happiness, success, or status. Now, there's nothing wrong with having these things if they are important and valuable to you. This is all about your values and being able to run the ideas that are coming at you from the modern economies that are based on consumption, run all that through your filters of what is important to you. We also want to pay attention to the societal comparison, where people begin to compare themselves to others and feel the pressure to keep up, whether it's with neighbors, peers, or celebrities that we might see online. Another point would be emotional fulfillment. We are seeking comfort. Buying things can provide a temporary emotional boost. You get that hit of dopamine, offering comfort, offering distraction, or even a sense of accomplishment. And it could be also filling a void. Some people accumulate possessions as a way to cope with feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, or a lack of purpose. Now, this is not particularly wrong to be accumulating possessions, but just understanding why you are doing it. Again, if it fits with your values and what you want to be experiencing it in your life, then go for it. But if you are finding that psychologically you're doing it for comfort or filling a void or something that you hadn't even thought about before, you're going to now have a chance to change that if that is not the things that are bringing you happiness. We could be identifying with status. We could be defining our self-worth. People often link their value or identity to what they own, believing that these possessions reflect their success or their actual capabilities. We could be owning certain items for social status, like luxury brands or the size of the house. These things are often seen as symbols of achievement or higher status. But again, there's other ways. We could be coming to accumulation and a full, overwhelmed life out of fear and looking for security. Some people accumulate out of that fear of not having enough in the future, leading to hoarding behaviors or over-purchasing. Or material things could be a security blanket, creating a false sense of stability or safety in an unpredictable world. It could be lack of awareness by having unconscious habits. Accumulating can become automatic, especially when people are not mindful of their buying habits or their true needs. Without a clear sense of what truly matters, we may default to accumulating stuff as a way to fill the gap. We could be looking for short-term gratification. This happens often. The immediate reward is what we're looking for. And shopping and acquiring things trigger that dopamine release in the brain, giving people who like to shop a momentary high. The financial or emotional burdens of accumulating possessions often aren't felt immediately, so there's no connection, making the habit easier to perpetuate. And finally, the cultural associations of success. The idea of more is better. This mentality is running rampant, and in many cultures, success is equated with growth and accumulation, whether it's wealth, possessions, or accolades. People often feel that their worth is tied to what they achieve materially rather than how they live or who they are by their values. By understanding these factors, we can begin to untangle ourselves from the cycle of accumulation and focus on what truly enriches our lives, the experiences, the relationships, and the inner fulfillment. So what better time than today as we come to the end of another year to take a look at what is essential and meaningful in our lives. Here are some of the benefits of moving toward a life of simplicity or minimalism or downsizing, whatever you want to call it. Simple living flies in the face of the common values of the Western world. Living simply entails stripping away the non-essential and focusing your time and energy on the things that matter most to you and your values. You're left with a life filled with meaning and lived on your own terms. You have the time and the space then to pursue your interests and create the life that you desire. Simplicity provides many surprising benefits. Your finances will begin to improve. Sell the stuff you don't need anymore and only purchase items you love or need. Fewer things can permit living in a smaller space. If you're spending less, your finances are bound to be more secure. Having an excess of financial resources eliminates much of life's stress. The peace of mind you enjoy is worth the minimal sacrifice. Knowing that you have enough actually is very important. Now, you may have enough but may not recognize it, or you may not have enough. This is something, again, we have to untangle these things because it is important as a human being to feel secure enough to be able to live in the present moment without considerable, overwhelming, or horrendous worry about where tomorrow's meal or place to sleep is coming from. We want to come to a place of enough. And when you are there, you can begin to have that peace of mind more easily. Next up, you want to be able to begin to naturally avoid overreacting when your life is more simple. It just kind of comes along with it because living a simple lifestyle allows you to see the situation's reality more easily. Your mind is less stressed because it has less to worry about. You won't make your life more difficult by rushing to a hasty decision. You won't be overreacting to every little thing. You have more space. You also can begin to strengthen your health by focusing on what's most important will lower your stress levels and your health will benefit. Stress affects your health. I want you to remember that. We think it's just in our head, this anxiety, this fear, this depression. These are all things. This stress affects our mood, yes, in our mind, yes, blood pressure, and our mental health. But it does affect us physically in a whole bunch of other ways that I don't have time to get into here today, but you know that. So you can strengthen your health by living a more simple and value-driven life. Your relationships will also become deeper and more meaningful. You might choose to even have fewer friends, but the friends you have will be much closer. Focusing on the other person is easier when your life is simpler. The interaction is also more sincere since you're free of the need to impress them. And this, we could go on for a very long time about this with the online culture. It is a whole new world, and it has all these new problems and complications, especially when it comes to being close to people or friendly with people or trying to impress people. But if your life becomes a little more value-driven and simple, maybe you won't have so many around you as you might online, but you will have less need to impress, and you can let your guard down. You will feel the reduction in stress. I think my shoulders dropped just when I said that. Next up would be simplicity and freedom go hand in hand. The more things that you own, the more responsibilities you have. We don't just leave everything in our house and go and lock the door and that's it. Everything that we are responsible for is carried around in our head. And the more you need to service your ego and these items that are carried around in your head, the less freedom you will enjoy. Simplicity is all about focusing on what's most important to you and letting go of the rest. A simple life provides freedom. You learn more about yourself. When you're not distracting yourself with your phone and stressed out about becoming a CEO before the age of 40, you have the time and the mental space to learn more about yourself. This is why I talk so much about meditation and about silent meditation. I'm not going to get on my soapbox here right now about it, but you who have been listening for a long time know I want you to spend time with yourself. And I want you to have the mental space to learn about yourself so that you can live your life. Next up is your life is less cluttered. Obviously, fewer possessions and commitments result in less clutter. This means you'll spend less time cleaning and organizing. Naturally, you'll have more free time at your disposal. Imagine not spending so much time keeping your life organized and dealing with everything you don't need or want. A little short story here. When I was helping someone with their home one time, they asked me to be there when they were going to be gone. So I was staying at their home for a number of days, and they were very well-to-do and had a beautiful home, and they didn't have to clean their house or anything. So the more things they had, it was they didn't have to clean it. That's, they paid other people to do these things. But I have to tell you, the organization piece and the keeping track of who is doing what is amazing. It was exhausting. There were people coming to do lawns. There were people coming delivering things. There were people coming to do this, to do that, to clean, to deliver food. Oh, my heavens. I have to tell you, it was a full-time job, I'm sure, for her on the long run for her life of just keeping track of all of this. Maybe she wasn't cleaning and taking care of all of those things manually, but it was on her mind and it needed to be organized and taken care of. I got a little bite-sized taste of it, and it was a little bit too much for me. Now, next up would be that you can be true to yourself and your values. Now, the woman I was helping, that was all her thing. I don't know what her values were and what was important to her. That may have been the perfect life for her. Maybe she was very good at that, organizing piece, and it didn't faze her in the least. But for me and my values, it was overwhelming. So modern society is focused on many things that don't lead to happiness and fulfillment. We have to figure that out for ourselves. A big house, a fancy car, and a second home in Aspen never made anyone happy. However, the people that valued those particular things may have been happy if that was what they were valuing. However, a complex life with many expenses has made plenty of people miserable. Why? Because they haven't taken the time to look inside and see, is this really what's important to me? Or is this a lot of noise from the outside world dictating to me what I think I should do to be happy? When you embrace simplicity, you're no longer influenced by the materialistic values of the society and the world around you. You can follow your own conscience without concern for the appearances. And finally, you will have more free time. How will you spend all the extra time you'll enjoy as a benefit of living a simple life? This is one of the greatest benefits of simple living. It can be hard to learn to relax when you're used to running around trying to get everything done. But free time is a gift. It is a big gift for all of you who tell me you don't have time to sit for 5 minutes a day to be with yourself. So, like I said, I'm not going to get on my soapbox here about meditation or about staring out the window for 5 minutes and letting the glitter in your snow globe fall to the bottom so you can see more clearly. But no podcast would be complete without me mentioning it. So I hope that you will take a few minutes for yourself and find a window to gaze out of, or close your eyes in meditation and give yourself this gift of time. And the more you simplify, the more free time you'll have. And before we finish up here today, I want to take a moment to reflect. Grab your journal and answer these questions. Is life running you ragged? And number 2, have you been successful by conventional norms but feel unfulfilled? There's no right or wrong answer. That's just for you and your journal. If today's show resonated with you, I hope that you will take one step towards simplicity this week. Declutter one little area in your home, or spend 30 minutes reconnecting with a loved one, just the two of you. Remember, simplicity isn't about sacrifice. It's about freedom. When you live simply, you can create space for what truly matters to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might need a little more simplicity in their life. And until next time, which will be a few days, be well and keep it simple. And now for today's quote. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. And that's from Hans Hofmann. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.